In Dragon's Dogma 2, warriors are the real powerhouses. They can dish out massive damage with their charge attacks and hold their ground like a rock in battle. They're tough to move and can take a beating, making them great for staying alive in tough fights. The only downside is that they attack quite slowly, which might feel a bit awkward at first. But once you get the hang of it, playing as a warrior is really fun and rewarding. By choosing the warrior vocation, you get access to Skyward Thunder. This is hands down one of the best skills for warrior. You can also charge this skill before releasing for greater damage, very effective against larger enemies such as Cyclops, Griffins, and Dragons. When fully charged, it inflicts multiple hits against these larger enemies, taking out tons of health from them if struck in a weak spot. This skill also has a very strong knockdown capability. After you knock down the bosses, the rest of your team can also focus their attack on a weak spot. It also works amazingly for smaller enemies. Really powerful skill. You should definitely take this skill if you are playing the warrior. Next up, we have the Racing Sweep, attacking enemies around you. But from my experience, it's not that great. It's also really easy to get interrupted if the foe's holding a shield. You might as well just use the light attack, which does the same thing, so I don't think I'll recommend this ability. Roar is the taunt skill. You can utilize this skill to draw enemies towards attacking you, and then destroy them with your charge attacks. And since you can take a lot of damage, and most of your skills require charging, this is not a bad skill for warriors. Rattling Lunge is quite effective against a single target, or you can hit multiple targets if they stand in a row. You can even push them off a ledge to instantly kill them if you wish. This is also an amazing skill to navigate through the map, and it does a much better job than running. Absolutely a great skill for warriors. Catapult Launch is kind of the utility skill, mostly for getting pawns to high ground for hidden chests, which I don't think is worth your skill slot, especially considering we are down to 4 skill slots in DD2 compared to DD1. You also have tons of ways to reach high ground in this game. For example, you can simply throw one of your pawns up there and they're gonna get a chest for you.
Trey, allow me to open your chest.
If you are the Mystic Spearhand, you could use the Dragon's Void to get to anywhere you want. Or if you have a sorcerer in your team, just order them with a go command and they'll levitate themselves and get the chest for you. Although this skill could still serve its purpose in combat by getting your pawn onto the monster, but the use is just too limited. You should probably consider something else. The Lurian Strike is great for single target, pinning them down for multiple strikes if the target was flinching, but it has no effects on larger enemies, so a bit situational. For most circumstances, you might as well just use jump plus heavy attack for the execution. Furthermore, over the course of this skill, you cannot move, and that leaves you vulnerable to attacks. Overall, I'll say it's a bit underwhelming. Inspirit gives you a second wind, curing some of your debilitations such as Caught on Fire, Frostbite, Sleep, Silence, and Unconscious. A bit situational skill. Feel free to take it if you feel like you need it. Indomitable Lash is able to deal massive damage if you strike a foe in a weak spot, but it takes a while to fully charge, considering you often knock down the big foes and expose their weak points, which makes this skill quite handy in these situations. I think it's quite valuable for warriors. Mountain Breaker. You thrust your blade upward, delivering a solid blow that knocks a target off balance. A fantastic skill against larger enemies. You can even knock a dragon out of the sky if they are levitating, although it consumes quite a lot of your stamina. Tidal Wrath, a counter-attack skill, functions a bit like the Vengeful Slash from the Fighter Vocation, but I found this one a lot harder to use, which activates quite slowly and the timing is not easy to get. It just doesn't work for me. Maybe you can give it a try and tell me how you feel about it. Windstorm Slash. You unleash a series of slashes, and swings become faster if you press the button in the right timing. Pretty effective skill against dragons, especially after their weak point is exposed, but not that impressive against other types of monsters. I'll recommend you consider some other skills. Arc of Might, the warrior's master skill, which you need to learn from a specific NPC after you finish their quest. This skill consumes all your stamina to unleash a mighty blow, which deals a significant amount of damage, although it takes quite a long time to charge. Basically, you can only use this skill after you put down a monster. The damage is quite good. It definitely pays off if it successfully connects. But keep in mind that it takes like an hour to fully charge, and you run out of stamina afterward. So take it based on your personal preference. In my experience, some of the greatest skills are Skyward Thunder, absolutely the best skill, works amazingly against almost all monsters, charge time is fast, inflicts multiple hits against larger enemies, Ravening Lunge, also worth considering, very effective against a single target, Indomitable Lash, dealing massive damage if you strike a foe in the weak spot. And the ultimate skill absolutely feels rewarding to use, as long as you don't mind the charge time. For core skills, we have Barge. You bash your foe with your shoulder, force them to flinch. Although there is another use for this skill. You can cancel any charging animation with this skill. When you are charging a skill and you have no chance of hitting the target, you can simply use Barge to cancel that animation, really handy to use. Bulwark reduces damage taken during a charge attack, which is crucial since we'll be using charge attacks most of the time. Chain of Blows functions quite similar with the Windstorm Slash. Repose. You can use your charge attack to counter a hostile attack and knock them off balance, which is quite amazing. For augments, you can just use the ones from the Warrior Vocation. Vitality increases your maximum health by 200. Impact improves your ability to push and pull targets when grabbing hold. Honestly, you wouldn't need this one most of the time, unless you have some specific builds which utilize pushing and pulling. Pertinacity improves your ability to break through an opponent's guard, and I don't think it's that useful. Dominance augments your knockdown power, which is quite good. Intrepidity reduces accumulation of the loss gauge when receiving damage, a very useful passive ability. The Warrior Vocation tend to lose their maximum health much slower than other vocations due to their incredible knockdown resistance. This augment will make it much better. And if you unlock augments from other vocations, feel free to use whatever you think is best. But there are some nice augments, such as View from the Fighter, which increases your maximum carry weight. Endurance from the Archer is quite amazing too, increases your maximum stamina. And Exaltation increases your stamina recovery speed. You can unlock this augment with your Mage Vocation. Consistency is valuable for warriors, increasing your knockdown resistance, and you gain this augment from the Sorcerer. To make a powerful warrior build, you also need the best gear. For the weapon, I recommend the Dragon's Flight, which is super effective against dragons, and you deal way more damage with this weapon against dragons. But you can only obtain this weapon with a New Game Plus, if I remember right. For smithing style, I suggest you go with the Batali. This kind of enhancement increases your weapon's physical damage, which is quite great for a warrior. For the armor, make sure to focus on the ones with high physical defense and knockdown resistance, and also try to upgrade your gear in the Dwarven style. This gives you as much knockdown resistance as possible, and it is quite essential for the warrior vocation. If you maxed out knockdown resistance for all your gear, the warrior will be invulnerable to interruption. For the rings, the Ring of Resolution is pretty good in my opinion, which increases your knockdown resistance, or the Ring of Profusion, that increases your maximum carry weight. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you found it helpful, make sure to give it a like. If you want to see more Dragon's Dogma 2 content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next one.